would always fall in the last quarter. This year, it's been a little bit different. We've had a very good first 5 months. There's one project that represents about 40% of that total fee revenue that we have generated in April. So all good things on the fee revenue side through the first 5 months. Hopefully that will continue over the remainder of the year. In terms of our expenses, again, I think in terms of payroll, and that's all on track according to budget in prior year. The program and community development, which does represent most of our workforce development funds, again, that total number for the year is about 2.5 million. We try to project out where those are going to hit in our expenses. It's very difficult when some of our programs come in to voucher for those expenses. Again, I would that difference to what our budget is really mainly due to timing. I do think that's going to catch up and meet budget as we get through the end of the year. I would say the same thing about our general administrative expenses as well as Apex. So again, generally represent timing differences that will even out over the next 7 months. So overall, a better start to our first 5 months than we had budgeted. Certainly on track or ahead of where our fee revenue has historically been. So those are all positive signs.
Perfect. All in all, I think that's a favorable report. And it's again, I think a continuation of the thing that we've had in past months' meetings, which is even though it looks like revenue is trending better than it did last year, and relative to budget, I think we're doing better than we thought we would. However, overall, just in terms of net cash flow, it does look like we'll continue to have a negative cash flow year. And so from that standpoint, just continue eye towards fiscal responsibility and kind of sort of stated fiscal guidelines. I think in the coming weeks we'll have a conversation with the board, about that, just to have an eye towards long-term sustainability. So all in all, a great report. Thank you, Greg, for your work that you do. Really appreciate it. Any questions from the board with respect to the financial statements? Okay, there being none, we'll move on to project applications. We have 2 projects for consideration this month. The first of which is Erie Materials Incorporated. Anna, I'll turn over to you to read the project summary, please.
Thank you. Erie Materials Incorporated, a building materials distributor, is purchasing 911 Brooks Avenue, the vacant hotel located in the town of Gates. The applicant is planning to demolish the existing building and construct a 49,000 square foot warehouse and a 13,000 square foot office and showroom. A Restore New York grant through the town of Gates costs, and Erie Materials anticipates creating 35 new FTEs. The $18.7 million project is seeking a real property tax abatement, mortgage reporting tax, and sales tax exemption. The cost to benefit ratio is 24:1.
Awesome. And I believe we have a representative, Stefan. And
yep.
Would you help me with your last name?
Chabot.
Chabot.
Yeah.
Okay. That's a great name.
Yeah. Well, thanks.
Yeah. Vice President, and please provide us with some comments on your project.
We're excited about the location. I have to tell you, the complexity with demolition and environmental issues and easements and everything else have created some pause for us, but we're so excited about the location that we're trying to move forward. Obviously, New York State's a part of helping us do that, and what we're asking for here is some help from you as well, just to help with that burden of really getting the site to a spot where we can then develop what we want. And that really getting it to that spot is really the challenge for us. It's not constructing it and the cost of that, it's getting the site remediated into a spot where we can actually construct something. So we appreciate your consideration. We know it's been vacant there for a long time, and your help would be really beneficial, hopefully, in moving this forward. So we appreciate it.
That's incredible. That site has been an eyesore for a long time, and so listen, kudos to you and your team for taking up the charge and redeveloping the site. How did you find the site, if you don't mind me asking?
We have a real estate person that's been looking for sites, and we've probably looked at a dozen sites over the last couple of years, and that one just the location of that is perfect. Headquartered in Syracuse, looking to continue to expand west. It's just such a good location off the highways with easy access, and we just weren't finding anything else. And to be honest, we've continued to look at sites since we've had an offer on that. We just haven't found anything else. So at this point, that's kind of what we have. So we really have specific requirements for location, size. So that kind of met all the boxes except for the risk of the site.
Now, that's right across from the airport, correct?
Correct.
So I happen to serve on the airport authority. The director is here, and at every meeting I bring up what's going on with that site. It's wonderful.
We've heard that from multiple people. They're like, "Wow, you're saving us! You're saving us! You're saving us!" So hopefully we can do that. So
It's
we're excited.
it's wonderful news and a wonderful site.
It's a great site.
Stefan, can you share with the board a little bit about the company?
Yeah, sure. So we're a family-owned business, one owner, second generation, 53 years old business. We've got 10 locations in New York and northern Pennsylvania. Our headquarters is in Syracuse. Our first generation owner had an agreement with somebody in Rochester, a gentleman's agreement made 40 years ago to not have us move this way, and they wouldn't go east either. So that business has now been sold, so we've kind of crossed that threshold of being able to do that. But that's a pretty neat story from how this business kind of operates on a handshake and a gentleman's agreement, and that lasted for 30 plus years where we agreed to not do that, and now we're looking to expand this way. We just opened a location in Poughkeepsie, just outside of the city, looking to expand here, and then we've got further expansion plans ahead. So we're excited. We've continued to grow even though the rest of the country and our industry is shrinking. We're up again this year. We were up last year. So I think we're doing the right things from a business standpoint to try to continue to expand and stay relevant, which is really, if you want to stay independent, you have to grow, and this is part of those plans. So we're excited about that. We have about 400 employees. We target to have about 35 within the first 3 years and probably 50 by year 5.
So do you plan to continue to be private, or?
Yeah, that is our plan, and that's why we're really aggressively growing so that we can maintain that independence, because so many businesses in our space are being bought up by the big three, we call them. And our current owner has 4 kids that are between, let's say, 20 and 30 that have an interest in staying in the business, so his intent is for us to stay independent.
And your competition, who are they?
So locally, the biggest one would have been or is Home Depot that bought SRS, that bought B&L. The big boxes tend to be the biggest competition for us. We're kind of in that, we're not a small lumber yard and we're not as big as they are. And really what we do is we differentiate ourselves with inventory. So we got a big distribution center, and the example is we run transfer trucks between all of our locations every day. So we tell a customer, anything that you want in our inventory, in our 10 locations, you can have today or next day. And that is highly, highly unusual in our space.
That's really an astounding story. You're competing with Home Depot, and you can win the inventory battle.
It's a no-brainer, because they cut and we invest in it.
Yeah.
Right? And that's why if you look at, a lot of those companies that open branches, this is a good sized branch, right? We're starting with 50,000 square feet. It's because of that inventory strategy that we apply, and contractors appreciate that service, that we can turn around the product in 24 hours. Those other locations or those other places have 3 SKUs and 3 colors, and if that's what you want, you can have it today. If you want any of the other 100 SKUs, you can't have them, and we have them. So we win business that way.
What does the size look like here in Rochester compared to Syracuse?
Syracuse is our original branch, and it's slightly bigger than what we're building here. So we looked at a lot of different considerations, and we decided to go fairly large based on how big the market we believe is in that location.
I just had a comment. In my prior life, I had some familiarity with your founder.
Okay.
Was it Jim Newman?
Bob.
Bob Newman, and met him on a number of occasions. This organization, and we had some familiarity with people in your business across upstate New York. This business and Don Tomany and B&L Wholesale were the two premier upstate building materials companies, and I can't say enough good things about our experience with the quality of Erie Materials as a customer and in their field. So I think Rochester and Monroe County will be well served to have you here.
We appreciate that.
That's amazing. 16,000 square feet of office, there are about some 35 new employees for, a distributor business. That's phenomenal too. So, really appreciate the jobs these are all new jobs that are being created.
100% new jobs, yeah.
That's amazing. Awesome. How's the rise in transportation costs, fueling costs moving back to your business?
It's pretty challenging, not just that, but every single material cost is going up at the same time, right? So we're trying to, we've weathered it. We haven't passed a lot on to our customers at this point because it's really tough to pass on material increases and fuel increases all at the same time. So we try to balance that, and the system that we have set up is pretty efficient. It does cost obviously a lot of money in fuel, but we try to balance that. We're doing well. We're growing on a unit basis, and that's what's really important. And if we weren't growing, it'd probably be a bigger challenge. But because we're growing, we can absorb some of those costs.
That's awesome. And again, you are saving this. That hotel needs to be. The hotel has got to go. So kudos to you. I don't think you're going to have any problems getting this approved by the way.
I appreciate that.
You still need to call the vote. There was a public hearing held on June 11th. Robin, were there any comments at the public hearing?
No comments.
Okay. Great. I just have a couple of questions for you, if you don't mind, before you go to the
Sure.
podium. Are you aware of our local labor policy?
I am.
Okay. Do you anticipate any local labor exemptions at this time?
We do. So the prefabricated metal warehouse building is designed, manufactured, and installed by the same company. So from a warranty standpoint, it basically has one owner to that whole entire process. So we would expect that would require an exemption. We're working with a local GC out of the Rochester market, and they've run into these situations before, and their recommendation is that we can work with them to bring in some local laborers to help out during that, is to hopefully mitigate some of that some of that requirement.
Yeah, I think we've dealt with that in the past, right? It doesn't void the warranty if someone else puts it up and then.
No, as long as they're part of that team that really is owning it, they're really working for the company that we contract with, is really what we do.
Okay. And are you aware that any exemptions need to be requested 45 days in advance?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, perfect. The secret process for this is complete, and so at this time I'll entertain a motion and a second for inducement and final resolution approving a sales tax exemption, partial mortgage reporting tax exemption, and a partial real property tax abatement.
So moved.
So moved by Norm, seconded by, we'll give it to Lisa. Okay. Any discussion? Okay. There being no discussion, I'll call the vote. Norm?
Yes.
Brian?
Yes.
Lisa?
Yes.
Brett?
Yay.
Ray?
Yay.
Miguel?
Yes.
It's a yes for me. Motion carries. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Appreciate
Thank
your
you.
support.
Yeah.
Welcome, officer.
Best of luck. Hope you guys are around for another 50 years. Yeah. Okay. Moving on to project number 2, 47 West Main Street Property LLC. Would you please read the project summary?
Certainly.
All right, thank you.
47 West Main Street Property LLC proposes the redevelopment of the vacant Rochester Savings Bank, a 30,000 square foot building located at 47 West Main Street in the city of Rochester, notably right across the street, right there. This project will create 23 new apartment units comprised of 18 one-bedroom apartments and 5 two-bedroom apartments. Rents will range from $1,800 to $2,100 monthly for one-bedroom units and $2,000 to $2,600 for two-bedroom units. At least 20% of the units, 5, will be affordable units with rents averaging affordable for 60% area median income earners based on household size. Approximately 5,100 square feet will be developed into commercial space, and 4,500 square feet will set aside for tenant amenities. The $9 million project is seeking a mortgage recording tax exemption, sales tax exemption, and it qualifies for the Premier Housing Plus real property tax abatement recommended in the recently approved and adopted housing study. And the cost benefit to ratio is 9:1.
Awesome, thank you, Anna. I believe we have some project representatives here with us today, Mr. Joe Barrett and Mr. Eric, is it Bonsignor or Bonsignori?
Either one works.
One works.
I did not know, I do get that question all the time.
Okay.
Which one is it?
Who is the ex-hockey player?
Oh, Jason Bonsignor.
Jason Bonsignor.
Is it Bonsignori?
Yeah, everyone in my family pronounces it differently, so
Okay. Would you like to join the podium too? You don't have to.
I'll let Joel do the
Okay,
talking.
all right,
If he needs
Joel.
anything.
Welcome, tell us a little bit about yourself, your business, and the project.
Yeah, so we're a builder developer. The development company is 43 North Real Estate. We've recently finished a project over at Old City Hall. Was kind of our first historic tax credit adaptive reuse multifamily syndication project. We did a small project over on 222 South Avenue in the VH Lang Trophy Building where offices are now located and built some residential units there. And we have a project underway with Ontario, OCIDA, on a 51-unit development project in Canandaigua. So this is just kind of expanding what we do as a company. It's historically focused. We work with buildings on National Historic Register within historic districts. We attempt to convert as much of the vacant space to residential as possible, and now we're starting to do a lot more, work under workforce housing. So all of our projects now have affordability requirements, and we are actively seeking that missing middle income on our properties. So our goal is to really utilize incentives, because a continuing challenge with development on multifamily is that the cost far exceeds the market value when you're completed. So how do we bridge that gap? So we're using tax credits, energy incentives. In this case, we do have some Empire State Development. There was a Remain grant that we were awarded as a portion of our project costs. And then also we like to focus on the operating side too, which there's really, the only thing is on a property tax perspective to kind of keep our operating costs and debt service costs in check or in line with our bank funding requirements. So this is very similar to other projects that we performed in that it's a historic structure that we're converting the majority of it to residential. And we will self-perform the development out of 43 North, do the construction out of our related party company Base Build, and then we are the ultimate manager of the property. So we'll have two on Fitzhugh here, right around the corner from each other, and have a couple other projects that are in the pipeline right now, right down Main Street actually. So you'll be seeing more of us hopefully, and more conversion of underutilized office space within Rochester.
That's awesome. Any comments, questions?
Just as a former hockey coach, I remember Jason well. Back in the day, I coached Pittsburgh Mendon in the old days, way back.
He's actually better, believe it or not.
When I had hair.
Question on your credits for energy. What type of systems are you?
So on the so we have a steam heat agreement, so we are still working and keeping our commercial area space.
With RDH?
On the steam heat with RDH and our common area space and the tenant amenity that Anna referenced in our project description. But we're converting 100% of residential to high efficiency heat pumps, a completely electric source. So because the building was in better shape than we normally see it, like we're keeping the exterior walls, we're keeping the windows, we're keeping the roof and insulation, we're not doing a lot to the thermal envelope of the building, so RG&E just has a flat $2,000 per unit for electrification. So it's $46,000 for the 23 units that we're creating. But we're also able to maintain a relationship with RDH because on the commercial space, because we have a longer term contract. So they're working with us to still be able to get, utilize some form of incentives for electrification and sub-metering of our tenant spaces, but also, keep steam in the building. We're using it for domestic hot water through an exchange, and then also to heat our commercial space, common area space, and circulation space with steam heat.
Yeah. I'm always interested in older buildings, getting the most out of it from an energy efficiency standpoint. It sounds like you have a good plan in place. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Energy is at the forefront of all of our projects. And a lot with the conversion of electricity creates challenges, and thermal envelope is probably the most important, so to help keep those costs down for our tenants.
Awesome. So I see you've got your nominal rents listed here, you know, 1,800 to 2,100 bucks a month. But I'm just wondering on a relative basis, like what does that translate to just in terms of price per square foot?
So I think we're always projecting around the $2 per square foot per month range,
Okay.
and then I think our affordable units will be in the $1,000 to $1,200 range for, one bedroom, two bedroom. So to meet the 60% AMI requirement on the 20% of our units, so we have already worked out our pro formas on those, and with the tax pilot, there is it does pencil for the project with the affordability. So I think that 20% is a really good metric. I'm not sure how much you guys did on the pro forma side on it, but I think that when you translate it directly to the way the pilot performs, it works together nicely. So it allows us to do that.
Yeah, awesome. That was the plan. Any more questions, comments? Okay, there being none, Robin, there was a public hearing that was held on June 11th.
No comments.
No comments? Okay. So I just have a couple questions for you.
Sure.
If you don't mind. Are you aware of our local labor policy?
We are.
Okay. Do you anticipate any local labor exemptions at this time?
Not at this time.
Okay. Are you aware that any exemptions need to be requested 45 days in advance?
Yes.
The secret process for this is also complete. At this time, I'll entertain a motion and a second for inducement and final resolution approving the sales tax exemption, partial mortgage recording tax exemption, and a partial real property tax abatement. So moved by Rhett, seconded by Miguel. Any discussion? If there is no discussion, I'll call the vote. Norm?
Yes.
Brian?
Yes.
Lisa?
Yes.
Rhett?
Yay.
Ray?
Yay.
Miguel?
Yes.
So yes from me as well. Congratulations.
Thank
Motion
you very
carries.
much. I appreciate it. Look forward to
Best of luck on the project.
You're welcome anytime. With a hard hat.
All right. Okay, now we'll move on to project modifications. The first project that we have is 120 Redab LLC, which is a mortgage recording tax exemption correction. No representative. Is there any discussion on this or no?
I can, do you want me to read the?
No, if we don't need to, we don't need to.
Okay.
Is there a motion and second to approve an increase in the mortgage recording tax exemption in an amount not to exceed $85,583?
So moved.
So moved by Norm, seconded by, we'll go with Brian this time. All in favor?
Aye.
Any objections? No abstentions? The motion carries. Great. And now I think that we have a presentation on Marlboro County's comprehensive plan. Anna, I think you're going to introduce Mr. Pat Gooch.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Absolutely. Pat Gooch is our Senior Associate Planner for Monroe County. He's the division head for the Planning Division here in the Department of Planning and Development. And Pat is here to present on the county's first update to its comprehensive plan since 1979. And this is an effort that this body helped to fund, actually funded entirely. Originally, the funds were originally requested in 2021 when this effort commenced. And then the effort took a little bit longer than planned because of COVID and community planning, community engagement related to the investment of the American Rescue Plan dollars that came to the county. So really a robust, many years long effort to thoughtfully and comprehensively update the county's comprehensive plan. So with that, I'll turn it over to Patrick, our subject matter expert. Thank you, Pat.
Thank you for having me, everyone. It's been a while since I've spoke to you about the comprehensive plan. As Anna mentioned, it took a little longer than we planned, but we think that the extra time was worth it because we have a product that we feel is good and it's representative of Monroe County. And so just a quick FYI, we have a comment period that is open until the 18th. It's been available. It was publicly noticed a while ago. We've held both an in-person public meeting as a part of our engagement process. Sliding into the actual planning effort, we'll just give you a little timeline about the process. So as Anna mentioned, we've been working on this since about fall of 2021. We've held public meetings with both the general community focused meetings, then municipal stakeholder meetings as well. We met with every town in the county to make sure, and village and city, to make sure that they all were a part of the process and represented through it. We had thematic stakeholder meetings. Those changed throughout the process. One thing you'll note on the slide to the left of me, or on the right-hand side there, is there's a lot of other planning efforts that are going on in Monroe County, some led by the county, some led by others. Those are all incorporated, maybe not specifically called out, but they were all part of the planning process that we baked into this. And then lastly, in the last year or two, we've really been working closely with the county to make sure that this is a plan that can be implemented. And so by doing that, we work with the departments to figure out what they're working on, what they want to be working on, and what they think is coming down the pipeline for themselves. One thing to note about this plan in general, this is not an operations plan for Monroe County government. This is a vision plan and a focus plan on how we can invest in Monroe County. So you yourself, as board members of a quasi-governmental entity and as residents of Monroe County, are really designed to participate in the planning process and in the implementation of this. I'm going to give you a very abbreviated presentation. There's a plan framework that has 4 different pillars. We're going to talk about just economic development today for the sake of time. But one thing to note is that the way the plan is laid out is that the 4 pillars of economic and workforce development, infrastructure, public health, and public safety. Those, of course, don't encompass every aspect of life in Monroe County, but we try to bake in all of the key factors or the key components of Monroe County government that we really need to take into account. Inside each of those pillars, the areas are broken down on just an introduction on what this section entails, the trends that we're seeing across the county that you need to be aware of as decision makers. What do we build on? Which really means, what do we have going for us that's going well, that we can enhance in some ways? Maybe locational advantages, other issues that we need to think about. What do we need to address? These are common problems that many of you are aware of. Maybe some of them are new to you. Maybe some of the data is new to you. But the goal is to try to build consensus around those issues so that way we can identify strategies to move forward. And lastly, as with every planning effort, is the implementation, which are goals and strategies. These are designed to say, this is where we as a community would like to go. And these are some subsections of those goals that we believe if we hit those tasks, we can start making that goal a reality. Next slide, please. So as I mentioned, we're going to talk about economic and workforce development. We really tried to ground the planning effort in what we heard from the public. So the key engagement findings that we pulled out of the meetings we had with individuals was support for affordable housing. As we all know, there's a housing crunch in Monroe County and nationally. People are underemployed or unemployed, which is an issue that we need to address as well. Services for those individuals are just as important as finding jobs for those individuals. We have a high-tech industry here, but we need to grow that, and we need to make connections through the I-90 corridor that's developing. We also need to prepare sites for future economic development, whether that is growing our own here or bringing in companies like Erie Metals, so that way they can create jobs in Monroe County. And then creative ways to support entrepreneurs. Small businesses are really the lifeblood of any community. We need to make sure they continue to grow, and so that's another aspect. I'm not going to read all these things. Oh, Brian, yeah, go ahead.
Well, just a quick question. We've been focused here a lot on workforce housing and affordable housing.
Yep.
I noticed the plan just calls for focus on affordable housing. Is that implied, or are we going to integrate that into this?
It is implied. These slides are an abbreviated version of a 300-page document. So we do have talk about kind of attainable housing, as we like to refer to it, which goes to workforce housing. And the Monroe County Housing Needs Assessment, although that came a little later in the process, was also baked into our work as well.
Don't mean to be hypersensitive.
No. Because, I mean, that is one thing that you'll see on the goals and strategies that I'll draw to your attention, is that we recognize that economic and workforce development isn't just creating jobs. It's quality of life, it's housing, it's making sure that people have the appropriate skills to move through their career, however that happens. So the strategies cover a range of topics like housing that may not be traditionally viewed as a economic and workforce development issue, but we know that people need a place to live. Employers are concerned about where they are locating their businesses so people can find quality of life that they think their workers want. So I appreciate the comment. Not going to go into all of these. We'll go to kind of the strategies just so we can talk over them high level, so you're aware. And next slide, Allison.
Oh,
I
sorry.
think I'm getting the hook. No, you're fine. So these are too small for you to read, but of course Allison can send these out. But I just want to draw you to some high-level themes throughout them that kind of go to what Brian was saying with some other things. We recognize that we as a county and as local leaders need to find ways to invest in our community, both in the workforce and in bringing jobs. Entrepreneurship, as I previously mentioned, barriers to employment is something that came up, whether it is a lack of housing, whether it is a lack of training, or a lack of childcare that keeps people at home. Education and training, I want to highlight that the plan understands that education isn't just years of degrees, but there's lots of other training that leads to successful careers that need to be invested in. As Brian and I were just discussing, the employer-employee kind of attraction and quality of life issue, whether it's housing, whether it's parks, whether it's good schools, all of that comes into play when growing businesses. We mentioned site acquisition and development. We recognize that that's something that Monroe County should invest in. We have areas that either need to be cleaned up or we need to just figure out ways to work with partners who want to come into the community. And so there are strategies to do so. And then lastly, power capacity, of course, is not an issue, or is an issue that we understand is a timely issue. That may change in future years. And we intend, as we move forward with this plan, to revisit it and to implement it through a couple different ways. Next slide, please. As I mentioned, this is not just an operations plan for the county government. It's for all residents of Monroe County, all leaders, all nonprofits. So we kind of have different roles that people can play in the process. Monroe County itself can convene. You as a board could potentially convene. You can advocate both up and down in terms of jurisdictions. We can establish policy and guidance that helps us move forward. We can build capacity across organizations and within the county. We can invest good old money into businesses and then market. We need to make sure that people understand why Rochester, Monroe County is a great place to live and work. Just want to let you know about the next steps in the process. Comment period is open until June 18th at this point. We will review those comments, identify what revisions need to be made before we get to a final draft that will then be submitted to the county planning board as recommended or as required per the county charter. Then we'll move forward with environmental review and submit to the county legislature for review and ideally adoption. We hope to wrap this all up before the end of the year, and I think we can actually make that promise this time. And with that, I'm happy to take questions. Yeah. Norman?
What's your plan to make sure that every aspect or every part of our community gets a chance to see this plan and understand the impacts of this plan on them?
So we previously, during the early engagement period, went to 50 or over 50 pop-up events in communities. So that means we went to, I know we went to the Puerto Rican Festival, we went to the International Plaza, we went to farmers markets, we went to a variety of venues to try to get people who wouldn't normally engage with this planning effort. Zoo Brew is actually a great event if you want to get people who may not traditionally come to a planning event. And so we tried to make sure that people were aware of this planning process. And now through the end of the planning process, we're just incorporating their comments into the final document. We have had press releases, we've had those public meetings, we've had some social media as well. And so we're in the process of trying to finalize that before it's one last push of this is the final plan and this is what's moving forward.
Along those lines, my concern or my question would be on the educational institutions, both higher learning and elementary and post-secondary, post-secondary school.
So I can speak to at least higher ed. They were invited to speak thematic groups to make sure they were part of the process. I can't remember who all attended because it's been a while, but I do know that we extended that invite because we recognize that not only are they an important aspect of our community, but there's work to do there. One of the strategies is that we need to retain more of our college students who are educated here, because we, as a whole, don't retain enough compared to other tier communities. We're good at bringing people in, we're not necessarily as good at keeping people here after they get a degree from RIT, U of R, St. John Fisher, whatever it may be.
Good.
The next step for this document, and I don't mean to stay on the workforce housing issue.
No.
Does this then, is it our hope that the Visitors Association, GRE, the Chamber, other organizations that are out there selling us, will this be turned into a marketing document or?
It will be an executive summary, so a much shorter version that they can rely on. Whether it will be turned into a marketing summary is not something we've determined. The executive summary is meant to be kind of the cheat sheet, short version. So that way, if you wanna know what the Monroe County Comprehensive Plan is, you have a way to do that. Ideally, we, as the planning department, will work with partners in the community to implement this plan as we move forward. So in that process, we will identify things we can do as a county, maybe things we need to partner with, whether it's GRE or whomever, to say this is something we think we need to do, and maybe that marketing aspect is one that we need to add to our list.
I'd encourage that. As a COMIDA board member, my point on the workforce housing, I think if you're out there pitching businesses to come here, they're gonna be focused on where their people gonna live.
Yep.
And I think it should be added, this may be the final presentation, so it's too late, but I really don't think we should lose that. In fact, I think it should be highlighted. That would be my opinion as a one board member.
The public comment period is underway, so that's an important comment.
I guess that's my public comment.
Very public.
One additional point that I just wanted to highlight is that having a comprehensive plan like this, updated, a living document, puts the county in a better, stronger position when we are applying for grants. And so, for example, when the American Rescue Plan Act happened and the county stood to receive $169 million, we did not have a comprehensive plan that was updated that we could look towards to help guide our efforts in investing those dollars. So now that we have this report, we are in a stronger position to articulate the value proposition when we're trying to avail ourselves of state, federal, and other grant dollars.
Another sales process.
And from a legislature point of view, as Truman said earlier, this concept is Monroe County is open for business.
Yeah.
And open for business means an economic development plan. That's a puzzle that's got all kinds of pieces, and this is supposed to address that. So I think it is this concept of Monroe County is open for business, here's why.
How often is a plan like this updated?
Well, the last one from Monroe County was 1979.
That's what I'm asking.
We've heard a lot of comments about that during comment period. Our goal is to, at the very minimum, have a in-house planning department review every year where we just kind of check off what we've done or what we haven't done, but then at least at a 5-year interval, do something more holistic where we identify, are there actions that we can update because something has changed in the state of the world that we need to? And so that's something we will look to codify, not necessarily codify, but look to the plan again. But it depends on each community. 5 to 10 years is pretty typical. Yep.
I have a question. What about transportation?
Yep. There is a whole section on infrastructure, which includes transportation, and it gets to it from all aspects, whether it is the infrastructure we build and what that looks like, also to the services that are available that people are currently using, whether that's public transit or whether it's, fleet services, van services, things like that. So there's a whole section related to public transit, or excuse me, transportation within the infrastructure section. And I do apologize, I could go on for about an hour and a half if you wanted. I don't think this board would like that, but we tried to stick to economic development to focus on your focus. But the plan is online, and a longer version of this presentation is also online that highlights some of those other issues that are relevant to us as community members.
It's good.
It's good. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'll be sure to share all of those materials with everyone here.
Thank you.
It's clear a lot of work went into this. Very knowledgeable, by the way, Pat, so thank you for your time and thank you for the wonderful presentation.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Moving on, next we have a executive director discussion items, a project that we previously learned about, which is the airport marketing fund. I think, Anna, you want to introduce Mr. Don Jeffries and also President of Visit Rochester and Mr. Eddie Moore, Director for the Greater Rochester International Airport, to provide us a little bit more information on the project. So I'll turn it over to you and you can introduce our
I'm back.
So this board has been privy to the concept of establishing an airport incentive program, an airport marketing fund. We brought, Director Moore and Gary was with us, I think, at the February or March board meeting to sort of socialize this concept to the board. Airport competitiveness, is part and parcel with economic competitiveness. The airport is an important piece of county infrastructure, and just in the same manner that business leaders look to sufficient housing inventory to make decisions about expansions and, am I gonna invest in this community? They're looking at airport service and determining, does this airport have sufficient service to match the needs of my business? Many other airports across the country, and Andy Moore can speak to this, have established incentive programs themselves, and notably our key competitors are really the Buffalo and Syracuse airports, and both of them have airport marketing funds established. So Visit Rochester has graciously kind of answered the call that Director Moore brought to the attention of the county executive, and so Don is here to speak to the request. This is $150,000 seed money to stand up an airport incentive program. So with that, Don, thank you again for
Thank you.
being with us.
And well, it's important. That's congratulations, Brian.
Oh, thank you.
Okay. Thank you for your time today and your continued investment in projects that strengthen Monroe County's economy. Today we are seeking support for a regional economic development initiative that will help Rochester and Monroe County compete for future air service opportunities. And while Visit Rochester is leading this effort, it's far more than tourism. It's about business growth, workforce attraction, investment, and regional competitiveness. We are seeking funds to establish the Rock Community Airport Incentive Fund. Airlines have more communities than ever before competing for service, and those communities with dedicated incentive funds are winning. As Anna mentioned, Buffalo has one, Syracuse has one. They don't tell us how much they have in their fund, but I've heard it's close to $1 million to attract airlines. Communities without these funds are just left behind. They're not even part of the conversation. Air service is infrastructure. We think about roads and utilities and broadband as economic infrastructure. Air service is economic infrastructure also. Site selectors, employers, investors, researchers, universities, healthcare systems, entrepreneurs, all evaluate the connectivity when making decisions. Air service affects business attraction, workforce recruitment, investment decisions, and ultimately our ability to complete nationally. At Visit Rochester, we see firsthand how visitation is often the beginning of a larger relationship with our community. People visit Rochester for a conference, a sporting event, college visit, family trip, or business meeting, and they discover our neighborhoods, our universities, our employees, and most importantly, our quality of life. A visit is the first step towards someone choosing to live, work, or invest here and build a future in Rochester. We already know the impact of tourism. It's about $1.5 billion in economic impact and 20,000 jobs. Expanded air service will help promote more business travelers, corporate prospects, investors, site selectors, prospective employees, university recruits, as we just talked about, meeting and convention attendees, and more, with economic impact extending across every sector of our community. Last year's, this is a side note with tourism, because that's my job, I have to plug that. The hotel motel tax last year was $500,000 more than it was the year before. So that's economic development. Airline route opportunities move quickly. When an airline expresses interest, communities must be ready. The value of this program is not just dollars, it's the value to being prepared with opportunities to emerge. With an incentive program in place, Rochester and Monroe County can immediately enter the conversation with a competitive package and respond quickly and demonstrate regional commitments. And one of the things I wanted to explain to the board is, this is not my expertise, but the airport has under contract a consultant. He's out of Texas. We go to him and say, this is what we're thinking, this is what the airline, what do you think the parameters should be? What should the dollars be? What should the marketing dollars be? And that's where we get our guidance. And he's got a good track record in doing that. So I just wanted to share that. The fund would support strategic route development and launch service to cooperate with the airlines and marketing programs. And that's what we do. Most of these offers, as you go around and you look at them, it's a little cash offer, but it's a bigger marketing offer. And one of the things that we're gonna do, we're gonna insist that marketing stays here. The airlines would like to probably do their own thing. If they want the deal, the marketing, we know the market, we know what we're doing, and you had in your packet, if you look at it, we're pretty good on the north-south routes. You know, it's not bad. It's out west where we need the help. We need Dallas, we need Denver, we need those routes. And if an airline comes in and it looks like it's gonna work pretty well, somebody else will jump in. If you get one of the other airlines, let's say Frontier or somebody like that comes in and the route is profitable, American and United will jump in a heartbeat. So, and that's kind of what we're after. Thank you for your consideration. I think this is important as an economic development tool, and I'm happy to answer any questions. And if you have an easy question, I'll take it. Those two, Andy will answer the other question.
Well, first of all, commend you for taking on this work. You know, I think definitely we need some additional routes coming out of Rochester
Yeah,
Airport.
Anna had my arm about here.
So, $100 million for Buffalo and Syracuse, $150,000 obviously is the far cry from that. That's less than 1% of the total funding that they have. What are the sources of funding that those funds typically have? And, you know, can you tell me what the reception from the local business community has been to
in
help
Syracuse, it comes from the chamber. It's part of the chamber's budget. Okay. But here, we're gonna work with One Rock, and that'll be GRE, us, all the partners in that to raise money. And we've brought it up. They've had long discussions at their meeting, and I can tell you the business community is gonna support this. You know, but first we wanted the seed money, we wanted the county and the city to support this, and then we will go after the rest of the money. But it's been, you know, and I can tell you some of the people, I've talked to David Reedman, talked to Andy Galena, I've talked to a lot of our business folks, and they're behind us.
Don, on the proposed route map, I see you have Dallas. Why not Houston and some other cities within?
Dallas is a bigger hub for American. It has more connecting flights.
Than Houston?
Yes.
And Director Moore is here as well, and I know, I don't mean to put you on the spot, Andy, but I know you just attended the Air Service Conference and probably had an audience with some of the airline decision makers who are determining where to invest and how to expand. I'm not sure if you learned anything from that conference this year that could help with this conversation here today, or if you have any further points to add.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and thank you for your time. I was just at an Air Service Conference with all the domestic carriers and some international carriers. And as you can imagine, you know, Rochester is not the only airport that's looking at this. There's over 400 commercial service airports across the country, ranging from your Atlantas and your Chicagos, which are large hubs, down to airports, you know, that have one flight a day, like Binghamton, you know, or Erie County, or even new airports that are being developed down in Florida, Vero Beach, and Treasure Coast is just now getting commercial service in Fort Pierce. And so the community is growing for air service, and everybody's starting to come together to say, what can we do to make our community more attractive? And that's where this whole initiative comes from. You know, I met with 6 airlines at this conference. 4 of them asked me about community incentives. So if they're asking me about community incentives, I can guarantee you they're asking the other airports that they're meeting with about community incentives. And so that's where we have to kind of be proactive and look at this initiative moving forward as a competitive initiative when we're not only competing against airports like Buffalo and Syracuse, quite honestly, but competing against airports across the country. You know, and we can either be proactive and get out in front and try to get this going early, or we can be reactive. And what I've learned as the airport director in the last 8 years is that if you're reactive, you've lost. You've already lost if you're reactive. So I think it's a great initiative. I cannot thank Don and his team enough for taking this under and being
part of this and being the holding tank and leading this initiative, but it will be a community initiative with One Rock, with GRE, with the county, the city, the businesses, the chamber, to really try to make an extra step in trying to attract more destinations, nonstop flights going to the west, as that route map that you saw shows that we're sorely lacking at this current time.
And one thing I just want to point, that the reason Visit Rochester stepped up is because federal regulations prohibit the airport from doing this. They cannot do this by federal law. So they can advise us, they can counsel us, but they can't be part of the negotiations or meeting directly with the airline to present this. And that's where we step in. And the other thing is, from a Visit Rochester standpoint, we're not promoting people leaving here. So when, you know, we have the routes, let's say we get a Las Vegas route, we would put a marketing program in Las Vegas to encourage people to visit Rochester. So we're looking at the inbound as well as the outbound.
I have a question, Andy. First of all, the route map is horrifying to see what we don't have. And then, so you need to come together, Don, you from a visitor standpoint and the business community through GRE and others. And do you just target, like, it looks like we'd be happy to get one of these. And doesn't this also, like I saw LA not in here, but on the other map, because that's a springboard internationally if you can get nonstop. So it's complicated. What type of, is this where the consultant can help you prioritize? Because you're not gonna get, we're not gonna get all of these, right? But if we could get one or two, and then you target those and you go to American and say, we gotta have Dallas, because that gets us a jumping off point. Okay, I just wanted to understand.
Exactly, and right now to get out west, you know, it's Chicago, and in the wintertime, that's a nightmare. You know?
Detroit's better, actually.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, but still you're dealing with the weather. You know, if we can get it direct to Dallas or Denver.
And the size of that airport.
You know, and that's American United.
Midway's a little easier.
Thank you.
But the winter is tough.
Any other questions? Thank you guys for what you do. It's important work, and you guys do it well. Thank you.
So at this time, I'll entertain a motion to approve the execution and delivery of the contract with Visit Rochester in an amount not to exceed $150,000 to support the creation of an airport marketing fund. Motion. It's moved by Red, seconded by Ray. Any discussion? There be none. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Abstention.
One abstention.
Jeffrey is my boss, so I think I need to abstain.
Actually,
He says vote yes.
I'm actually in discussion with Andy and Miguel. If they keep closing hotels on me, I'm gonna need buses.
One abstention. With the one abstention, the motion carries. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
And I can skip over the dashboard. I think Greg summed it up well earlier, in that we are moving ahead at a healthy clip so far in 2026 in terms of our project activity. And I think that's attributable in part to housing projects in light of our housing study. So, so hopefully by the end of the year, we'll have some strong performance to report out on. And with that, I can turn it back over to our chair unless anybody has any questions, comments, concerns.
Okay. At this point, I've been informed that we need to go into executive session. So I will entertain a motion.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. So I'll entertain a motion in a second to enter into executive session.
It's great. It's a great possible location.
Brian?
Thank you.
Oh, okay. Wait till he comes back.
Did we get a motion in a second?
Yeah.
I second.
That's what we
Oh,
want,
okay.
one successful.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Any objections? No abstentions. So for Brian, motion carries. motion to adjourn?
No, no, no.
Wait, we do that
Are we
motion.
doing your motion?
Yes.
Yeah, I propose a motion to, allocate 50% of the revenue from the actual refinancing of the RSMP, or Rochester School Modernization Program's finances, to be, allocated for the Business Opportunity Program with the RSMP.
So you made the motion, we just need a second?
Second.
So I'm still a little confused. So
We're saying we're gonna allocate 50%
of the fee revenue that we receive.
Right.
From the
To-
one deal.
From that one deal, so we're going above and beyond the 10% that we said we typically wanna take. So we're taking 50%,
Of the $118,000.
Yes.
and we're gonna put it into
The Workforce Development Fund.
our workforce development.
Right.
Correct.
Okay,
And then they have to
we
apply
would
for it.
seek for them to come back to COMIDA and articulate
Yeah,
the ask around the business opportunity program. And then
Okay.
the dollars go back out the door to them.
to them, okay, to the extent that they actually come back in and there's the program that they can use it for.
Yeah, you still have discretion, you've still gotta hear their proposal.
Alright, we had a second?
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any objections, abstentions, none, motion carries, congratulations.
Thank you.
Alright.